everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. Today we are ranking the Saw movie series. We had to wait until the latest one came out, and much to our surprise, it was good. So, because usually when we talk about these things, it's usually just the opposite. So, we have 10 total Saw movies. Amongst them is a 3D, and then the rest are there are various stories and versions. And anyway, I guess we'll start off with the one I put in last place.
Yeah, number 10 for you.
And it might be the same for Marco too.
How do you know?
But the last one is the Saw number 9. That would be the one that came right before this latest one.
Safi, what's the title? You have to say the title of the
Saw
movie.
10. Saw 9.
No, it's Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Oh, God. That's right. Spiral.
Spiral. Remember that?
I don't even like the title.
No.
Might as well just say Saw 9. And that's it. So anyway, Marco had to refresh my memory because it was not good, and I just kind of put it out of my mind. But Chris Rock is the star, and like I've said, I like Chris Rock as a comedian. He's really good. I really enjoy him. I think he's great. But he's not very good at acting, and I'm sorry, but that's just the way I think. Okay, it's my opinion.
No, it's objectively true. I mean, he's terrible at acting.
I wish he was better, because but you know what? I have had a writer's group. We have one person who could write comedy or just any kind of humor, and the rest of us tried it, and we all failed miserably. It's hard.
Not really.
Well, I believe it is. And so if you can do it, good on you and good on him, because he's really good at it. And I couldn't even begin. I've tried. I don't even bother anymore.
Oh, we know.
So anyway, but I did not like this version of Saw. It was about corruption in the police department, and things got screwed up, and I didn't care for it at all. I just thought it was, I don't know what else to say. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was very well done. I didn't think it was a very good story.
And this is the only movie in the series where Jigsaw isn't in it at all, by the way. Not even like a scene.
And it's not like when I watched this one, I don't even think I had seen any of the other Saw movies. So, I mean, I had nothing to compare it to. So, if I had seen all the other ones, then I would have noticed that he wasn't in it. Because when the guy who plays Tobin Bell is the actor who plays Jigsaw, or Dr. Kramer or whatever.
Doctor? He's not a doctor at all.
What is his name? Well, anyway, the main character, the main actor, Tobin Bell, who plays him, he wasn't even in this movie. And I think after seeing all the movies, it's best that he's in it.
Yeah.
It just gives it more authenticity. And it seems to calm the story down.
But he's always the best actor in the movie, too, well, kind of. Because you have all these actors who haven't really done much else, and, they're some of them are pretty good or just okay, but he's really the one who comes on and is like, he's the real actor, he's the real deal.
So, even after not seeing any of those other Jigsaw movies, when I saw this one, I didn't care for it. So so it's in my last place. So how about you, Marco? What about you?
My number 10 is Spiral from the Book of Saw.
He's doing the same thing.
It's awful. It's just everything about it I hate. The only thing that I'll say that's good before we start talking about why it's bad specifically is I really liked the idea of like taking the series into like a noir detective style, since all they can do right now really is prequels if they want to keep doing that. But if they wanted to go in like a new direction, I would agree that like it might be the best to do it as like a detective noir and make it really like mysterious and more like a suspense thriller again. But the movie's terrible. I mean, the story's awful. The traps suck. These are probably the worst traps of the series. And the villain, you know right off the bat who the villain is because, his character just walks in the room and, you just have a feeling that like, oh, that's the guy. That's the one. Chris Rock, his acting is atrocious. It was so bad that when I was doing the Oscars for 2021, I said that like if there was any actor who I'd like to punch in the face, it would be Chris Rock because he did such a bad job. And then months later, he actually did get punched in the face, and I was like, oh, thanks, because that's what I would have done too. And he deserves it for this terrible, terrible performance. I mean, just terrible. Just awful. I mean, how could you look at the videos for this movie and say that, like, that was a good performance? I mean, ugh. And especially the ending. And now the ending is even worse because Chris Rock was in shitty-ass Fargo Season 4, the worst season of the series.
Which is sad.
And he also probably watched the other seasons, and we can tell because he plagiarized a sequence from Fargo Season 1, where there's this guy who gets bound to an exercise bike with a shotgun with no bullets to look like he's trying to shoot this SWAT team. And then the SWAT team comes, and the bad guy watches as the SWAT team kills him. And the same thing happens in this movie, where Chris Rock's dad is strung up and made to look like he has guns, and then the SWAT team comes in and kills him accidentally. It's the exact same thing. He plagiarized that. I mean, how could people be okay with plagiarism in a movie? So I don't like that at all. I think that's awful. And nobody even talks about that, too. And then you have the thing with, like, instead of having the Saw puppet, oh, let's replace that with a pig in a police uniform. Ooh, that's a really creative idea. Not. So this is the worst one.
Okay, well, we're going to move on, because I can't even believe we could say all that.
I never watched it again.
About the worst one. Anyway, the next one is Saw 8. And basically, the villain...
No, Safi, what's the title?
I don't know.
Jigsaw.
Oh, boy.
It's called Jigsaw.
Okay, well, Marco will have to remember the titles. I don't have any titles except for the Saw 10.
Isn't that creative? Jigsaw? Instead of saying Saw 8, they just say Jigsaw as if it's like a
Not
reboot.
Really. Okay.
It's really original.
Okay, well, anyway, Marco, in Saw 8, which is 9... in my list, going from the worst to the best. This had it was interesting, a military veteran who was, and we've never been able to figure it out, unless Marco's figured it out by now, but I don't think so. It doesn't really matter. He's either a coroner, he's a medical examiner, which I don't know if that is the same thing. And the other one would be a forensic investigator for the police department.
I figured it out.
What?
He's an NPC.
So anyway, he's the villain.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have what was it? Just 3 people who were caught. No. Okay. Well, you have these people, and they're all unfortunate. I'm calling them that because they've done something pretty bad, to where somebody got killed. Yeah, they everything. Each one of them. It's not like oh, we have insurance guy who bilked somebody, or a medical fraud, somebody stealing a watch out of a drawer. We have three people who I remember who did whatever actions they did directly or contributed to the death of somebody else. And one of them actually killed her own baby. She put a pillow on its face. So, guess what? None of them survived, but the person who's setting these traps for Jigsaw is this, whatever he is, forensic investigator. So he makes it look like Saw is still alive, which they even they exhumed his body and everything, because you're like, what the hell's going on? And he's dead. We saw him on the table. He had his neck cut into.
But Safi, what don't you like about the movie? That's what you say in a list.
It was just, there just wasn't anything. Sometimes when you watch a movie, like we just watched Saw 10, there's something redeeming about it. There's something positive, because I mean, all these people, they're not going to get better. They're not going to. You see, that was the original premise for Saw. In fact, he says it in the 10, that he wants people to learn what life means and a lesson, and then they should be able to. He says he doesn't kill anybody. They don't take the time or appreciate how to get out of the trap. Well, they're a little bit violent, when you have to cut off your arm or pound your foot into a pulp so you can get it out of a leg brace, or a foot ankle brace or whatever. I mean, that's kind of funny, ironic, but still, there just was nothing positive at all. It was just negative. And then you find out it's a military veteran who says when he came out of the military, he was a broken man, and Saw helped put him back together.
No, he said, "Make America Jigsaw again."
Oh, God.
That's what he said.
Well, whatever. I just thought it was dumb. And it was interesting because this is one thing too. Mainly the movies they're in a urban area, like an old warehouse or something like that, a basement of a building. This was in a barn on a farm with a silo.
This isn't like my hometown back in the barn.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was one thing that made it different. And, so anyway, because this guy was a forensic investigator or whatever, he had the knowledge to make it look like Saw was still alive and put his DNA and his blood and everything on objects related to these murders. So it was so confusing to people, like, what the hell? And they even had his body exhumed, and he's dead. And they're like, what's going on here? So anyway, that I just put it as my next least favorite movie, because I just didn't think it was like somebody got bitten, and the movie was like chewed up into fragments and put together, and I don't know, I didn't like it. So go ahead, Marco. What was your next to the last?
Number 9 is Jigsaw. Now,
same thing.
This movie, I thought that Spiral could be good, and I thought Jigsaw would easily be in last, but that's how bad Spiral was. Spiral. Jigsaw, what this was it was a horrible, soulless movie. It was a movie where all the concern was with modernizing the Saw franchise. Let's have people make jokes while they're in Saw traps. Like, let's have people point out the obvious. Wow, this isn't creepy. Oh, it's really creepy. Like, let's have people just make, like, stupid jokes and have these, like, hip, modern characters who nobody likes. These are the worst characters that are ever in a Saw trap. Like, I like the people in the scam. in Saw X more than the people in this movie. They try to have like a final girl, and she turns out to be a baby killer, and that was an epic fail to say the least. The only good part of the movie is really the scene where Jigsaw is in it, and you think that, he's doing this trap with this shotgun, and that was the only good part of the whole movie, and it just felt like begging the audience to say that the movie was good by putting him in there at the last minute like that. The villain is probably the worst villain in Saw history. I mean, he walks, talks, and acts like an NPC. He has this whole monologue at the end, and he literally has the same face the entire time. Like, it's so bad. Such bad acting. Horrible. And then also, the guy who plays the main detective, he's actually a really good actor, and so I really didn't like that his character wasn't any good, and he didn't get to give a good performance because the script was so bad. So this one, all I can just say is that, like, it's modern Saw. Take Saw and let's make it modern, because making movies modern is really just the key to making good movies. Like, you know what they did when they made Top Gun Maverick? They said, let's make Top Gun modern. Not. Like, that wasn't what they said at all. That had nothing to do with, making Top Gun Maverick. When they made Top Gun Maverick, they just made a good fucking movie. They didn't care about making it modern or not. So... Safi.
Okay, well... that was number... See, I have the original numbers of the movies. So
Safi, your next number is number 8. Come on.
Okay, well...
Come on. Come on. What's your number 8?
I guess my number 8 is 7 or 3D.
Oh.
And...
of course you would say
this
that.
This is misnumbered. Okay.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
Well, no, this is right, but I just...
oh, no.
It's confusing.
Looks like Safi needs to be put in a saw trap until she learns how to rank correctly.
I don't like ranking, so it doesn't surprise me. But anyway, the thing about this movie, it was, like I said, it was Saw 7 or 3D. And this was at a time when almost every movie that came out was made into a 3D, no matter how minimal or a lot. And they were trying to keep up with that, and it's stupid. In fact, it ruined the movie. I think it would be interesting to see if it would have been different if it had not been a 3D, but it opens up...
No, because they just still would have done the same story, but just take out the gimmicky shots that would be 3D.
Well, it begins with 2 guys and a girl, and she's cheated on both of them, and they're both in danger of getting cut with the saw blade, of course, or she's going to die from being cut to save both of them. And but what's unusual about this opening scene, or no matter where it was in the movie, is it was taking place in a storefront where everybody on the street could see what was happening, and the cops arrived too late, and they couldn't break the glass. And now that I think back about it, when you do a storefront, you have an access from inside the store because you set it up. There's all kinds of doorways because you have to get all the stuff to set up, the clothes, the dummies, everything.
Well, yeah, how did Jigsaw get in and out of the pop-up?
Yeah, or it's a pop-up storefront. Whatever it is, it's a place that's accessed from inside the building. So anyway, we know he can do anything, but so that's just like, to me, that crime being done in front of everybody, it was ridiculous and stupid and almost like gratuitous violence. I didn't like it because it was just cheating.
Boo-hoo.
It was all about cheating.
cheating.
And these guys either turning against her, turning against each other.
And she deserved it. She's awful.
She didn't deserve to be killed.
Yeah, she did.
None of them did. Marco.
In this universe, I was totally okay with her being killed.
Well, anyway, so the story, though, is a good story. I mean, it's interesting because it's a twist in such a way that's just opposite of what all the others are like. I mean, during the whole series. Because this is about somebody who actually says he was in a trap, but he lies. And he wrote a book about it, and he was having like self-help groups. You know, people who survive saw traps would go to these, you know, like a therapy group. And so that was what was interesting, because he got punished, of course, because Saw came to one of his book signings, Jigsaw. And so that's how he got found out. But the whole story revolves around this. And I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a good premise for a story. It's just all the special effects that were sprinkled in amongst the story all throughout it. I thought it just didn't fit. It was distracting, and I didn't. Did you really want to see blood flying out into the air and heads spiraling out and falling on the floor?
Spiral.
Pieces of body pieces floating all over the place, or zooming out into the pretend like audience.
That so what?
I don't like it. I thought it was stupid, and I thought it ruined it. I thought it would be it, and it would have been a pretty good story, and I probably would have ranked it higher. But like I said, they weren't the only movie that was doing these 3D effects. It was a big thing, and I knew it wasn't going to last. It was a thing for the time, and that's it. So
my number. Are you done?
My number 8. So go ahead.
My number 8 is Saw 3, and I really it's sad because I felt every time I think about the movie, I feel like it had great ideas. There were some really good ideas in it that, you know, would have been really good if it were. Because the thing about this movie is, I think it should have been Saw 7 or Saw 8 in the series. Which the people who made the Saw movies, they came out and admitted that they killed Jigsaw too early. Just yesterday.
Yeah,
and,
yesterday.
It's true. And, you know, that's why I really hated this movie, because it's like all of a sudden, after Saw 2, where you just thought the game's just begun, it's like, oh no, now the game's almost over, because Jigsaw's on his deathbed, and Amanda gets killed too. And I really hated how they destroyed Amanda's character by having it be all about how she's such an idiotic, like, stupid psycho person. Like, she has no remorse for anybody in this movie. Like, this doctor woman who's, like, really trying to help, she wants to kill her, like, really badly for, like, no reason. Like, she's just such a... They ruined her character in this movie. And, a lot of the movie is like flashbacks too of just like her and him setting up traps for other movies, and then the main story is the worst part, because it centers this guy and his crime to Jigsaw is that he's mourning his son's death. That's his crime. He gets punished in this movie, eventually killed in the 4th one, because he's mourning his son's death. I mean, that's just so retarded. I hate it. And another thing is the fact that the detective from the 2nd movie, I expected to see Amanda and him, or like Amanda having her own traps and him going through his own game, but no, like he has this badass scene where he gets out of his first trap, which is just like a replication of the first movie, and then she kills him. It's like, how disappointing is that? Like, it's just such a a huge disappointment, this movie, and it just felt like disappointments for the sake of disappointments. The only thing that I thought was cool was that it's like, even on Jigsaw's deathbed, he's doing all this stuff. Like, he's manipulating all this chaos and carnage and evil. And, like, even at the last moments of the movie where he's already dead, the guy presses a cassette tape that he's already prepared in his hand, the cassette player. And then it's like, oh, I'm dead, but, fuck you. You're gonna get fucked up now, and your wife's also gonna die. Fuck you. Like, that was the only good thing. But other than that, I hate this movie. It was a huge misstep in the series. If this was the 8th movie in the series, I would be fine with it. I would say, it's really gross. I don't like the brain surgery stuff, but it's a fitting ending for the series, but it should not have been the 3rd movie in the series. No way.
Yeah.
Safi?
I agree.
What's your number 7?
Okay. Well, this is actually 5. I thought the little girl was rescued in 5.
Yeah, she was.
Okay, I have that. All right. And the thing about it is, the detective Hoffman, who has turned into the devil, he's actually turned into Michael Myers or Frankenstein, who moves faster but has the same stony expression. He just kills everybody in sight. And it's like he doesn't care. He's just turned into Michael Myers, and he might as well be going down the street just killing right and left. But, he's killing people all the...
He doesn't do that in this movie. He does.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
I put that.
No. The first time he becomes Michael Myers is in the 6th movie, when they unscramble his voice, and so he's caught, and he has to kill everyone in the room. And then, the next one after that is Saw 3D, where he goes on the killing spree.
Okay, well,
so
I'm just going to go with, I still think that
no.
number 5 is my 7th one, and the little girl did get rescued. She is the one...
It's trash.
Marco just talked about a movie that he ranked as, would you rank it, 8th or 7th? But anyway,
I don't know. What number comes after 7,
it's
Safi?
because I have these, the numbers of the movies beside the ones where I rank them. It's confusing. So anyway, he just talked about the movie where the mother's doing brain surgery, the father's grieving over his son, and the thing is, the boy, his son had a sister, so they had a daughter, and the daughter got put in prison somewhere, and it looked like it was the same building. But they didn't know that, and the father was very worried about her and everything. But anyway, so the next movie, this movie, 5, she was rescued, but really they knew where she was, the bad people. Hoffman. You see him carrying her out of a building, so that's one saving grace, except she goes, "Where's my mommy?" Because now she's...
But why is the movie bad? Why do you have it in 7th
because
place?
I just didn't
what
like
kind of,
it.
What kind of bullshit is that?
I didn't like all the killing. The detective, his face, he couldn't act, and he was just like, he had a stony face.
But what about the movie, Safi?
That's what I'm just saying. What do you want? I'm not going to go in and start.
Well, you guys don't know. Safi, when she did this ranking, remember, she just watched all the Saw movies. She went into an investigative mode where she did more investigating than the people in the Saw movies, and she looked up what happened in that one? What happened in that one? And it seems like she doesn't even remember what happened in Saw 5, because if you could remember, you'd easily say it's better than Saw 4 at least.
Whatever.
I mean, we agreed it was a huge step up from Saw 4, which was edited by a person with mental retardation and ADD and high on cocaine at the same time. And it was so bad that, it was abysmally bad.
Okay, well, that was my 7th movie.
Well, bullshit.
Marco, shush up.
Well, it's bullshit, Safi. I mean, go back and listen to the reviews where you're saying on camera, Part 5 is a huge step up from Part 4. It feels like an actual movie. Part 4 feels like a piece of trash.
Actually, I have Part 4 as number 6.
Well, don't spoil that.
Well, I mean, you're just telling me
because it's bullshit. Number 7 for me. Do you want me to do my number 7?
Yeah.
Number 7 for me is Saw 4. Now, since Safi has ranked it so high, it's almost like she likes the movie.
I ranked it at number 6. You're ranking it at number 7. You rank it high. Okay, that's right. Okay. So
yeah.
What? One difference?
Saw 4
one
is really, really bad. It is the editing in this movie is probably the worst editing that I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
It gave me a headache. It gave Safi a headache. There's so much weirdness in this movie. It feels like too much, like a clusterfuck of trash. There's some good parts in it, like Jigsaw getting the guy who killed his wife's baby and putting him in a trap. You know, that scene was really good. And then, I can't really remember what else was good. But, you know, you have like, well, okay. I really liked the character of the lawyer. There's this guy, and he gets out of his first trap in the opening scene, and then he has to... What it's about, kind of, is that you have these 3 people in this room. You have Hoffman, the bad guy, we find out at the end. And you have the lawyer, and you have the detective from the 3rd movie, who they brought back to life. Only to kill him again. So, you know, another reason why I hate this movie. But it's not terrible. It's just, in terms of the other movies, it definitely deserves to be this low. Unlike Safi's list, where she can't even remember what happened in the movies. They have to stay in this room, and nobody can open the door. And the movie is all about this black guy from the second one, who they originally wanted him to be in the 3rd movie as the star. So they made him the star for the 4th movie instead. And it was just like, you know what, it was too late for that. Do something else, you know, do something that's good. Because the main plot is that, and I've said that the main plot is something like 3 times, the main plot is that he has to learn that he shouldn't save people because, you know, even though he's a cop, he shouldn't worry about saving people because that's just impossible. And also, you get killed. And so he opens the door at the end, he fucks everything up, everyone dies, there's all these stupid twists, it's terrible, I hate it. Well, it's not terrible, it's just pretty bad, and it just has all the stuff that I don't like in and amongst the stuff that I do like, and it's edited so poorly. The only other thing that I liked was the death, well, the fake death, where the investigative woman, she walks up to a Jigsaw doll, and it explodes in her face, and I thought that was really creepy and cool. But other than that, you know, I'm not a fan.
Okay, well, my number 6 is the one he just talked about.
Saw 4.
Saw 4, and it really was bad editing. I mean, if you compare this to Saw 10, which really was so smooth and so recent, and then this thing was way, you know, in the middle, and I don't know what they did, but what happened to the original people editing, or this person was sick, and they were on cold medication. I don't know what was going on, but...
They were on cold medication?
I don't know what it is, but we were both, like, it kind of made us ill.
It did.
Because it was, the editing was so poor.
I distinctly remember getting a headache.
That's kind of like getting car sick, or... I have trouble, like, I can't ride any rides anymore. I get really nauseated. I mean, right away. 2 seconds, and that was what it was like. Motion sickness.
Really?
So anyway, I'm not going to go on because he just outlined the whole movie, but it was mainly the bad editing, and then I felt bad. The SWAT team guy. I mean, that's a thing, a really common theme in all these movies. Not all of them, but most of them, is that something is going on with the police department, and
because the police suck in this series.
They've killed off more police and whole investigative units. I mean, I'm talking about people who all they do all day, they don't even meet the people. They sit at a computer and they're doing some kind of technical forensic work on a computer, or, they're working with the evidence, like analyzing on a computer, and so even they get killed. And so that's the common theme in a lot of these, is something about them. And I don't even know where they get all these investigators. Because Hoffman has wiped out entire members of departments. I mean, he's just right and left in almost every, in this certain number of movies that were together. So anyway, it's bizarre. But anyway, that was my number 6. So go ahead, Marco. Number 5 is, or your number 6 is?
My number 6 is Saw 3D, the final chapter. Uh-huh. Now, when this came out, I was so disappointed. Even though I pirated the movie, I was disappointed and wanted my money back. And the reason why I had to watch it online was because I didn't want to have to ask Safi, and I didn't think that she would let me see it in theaters since it was so violent. When did it come out? Came out...
I don't know. Saw 7. So.
2010. So I was 12. So I don't know if Safi would have let me see it or not. And, regardless, it probably would have been like...
Well, you probably would have gotten grief if you'd gone to the movies, and they probably wouldn't have let you in.
Well, no, with you. Like, you would have complained, and you would have said it's trash.
I would not have liked that.
And it was terrible. It was so disappointing what they did with Dr. Gordon, his character. He doesn't even look like himself. He looks like a fat person wearing a Carrie Elwes mask. And, the story is actually really good, but it's suffocated inside this terrible movie. The story of this fake traps survivor having to go through these traps. And then I really hated that he couldn't save anybody, even his wife. Yeah. And I really felt like his wife had the worst death out of everyone in the whole series, and I don't like that, because she didn't do anything wrong. And also, the 3D stuff is gimmicky and stupid, just like Safi said. But years later, I will actually say I love this movie, because it's really, really bad. And it is so bad, it is really, really good. Like, I probably, rewatching this series, I enjoyed parts 2, part 7, and then part 10 the most. Like, rewatching them. Because it was just so bad. It was great. It was just so, like, like, the acting was terrible, and there were so many, like, funny moments, like, why couldn't you just shut the fuck up? Remember that, Safi?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
It was hilarious. So I love this movie. I've completely turned around on it, even though if I didn't think of it as entertaining in a funny way, then it would easily be like the third worst of the series. But it's really, really funny. So now I like it. And it's just too bad that they wasted that storyline with the fake survivor, because that had a lot of potential. Safi?
Yes, it did. So, okay. I had forgotten about that, but that trap was interesting because it was based on the woman's voice. And she was having a fit, and because he wasn't going fast enough or whatever to help her get out of the trap. And every time she raised her voice, that caused the trap to be set off, and it would tighten according to the sound of her voice, and that's why he said at the end when she had died, why couldn't you just shut the what up? So
you don't need to explain that, though,
I know, but
Safi,
I thought it was interesting.
At all.
It was I think it was the only trap like that in the whole series of movies. Okay, so anyway, number 5, and Marco's already had this for one of his. It's Saw 3, and this was about the man whose boy had died, and he was being punished because he cared too much and was grieving too much about a son, which is a little ironic since Saw, the way they have it played out in the storyline of his life is that when his wife miscarried the baby because of this drug addict hitting her in the abdomen with the door.
Yeah, he got revenge on the addict.
And because his son, who had already wasn't born yet, named Gideon,
really?
died.
Ew. That's what they were going to name their son?
Yeah.
Ew.
And so anyway, this guy was just grieving, and he had this daughter. We've already talked about this. The daughter got saved, but it looked like in this movie, it looked like that she was just stranded somewhere. And since he killed Saw, she couldn't be saved. So that's what we were thinking at the end of this movie. And how could he do that to an innocent little? It's a little girl.
Yeah, that was terrible.
And so then this guy, when he goes through all these traps, where one was a big cupboard full of his son's things that he had kept. You know how people, they show this and TV shows, movies where they leave their room exactly the way it was when they left or something. That's what his son's room was. And so all that stuff, I guess they just piled it all and put it on. It was like in a display cabinet you would see in a antique shop.
No, Safi, it was in a furnace.
I thought it was in a... Okay,
no.
Well, anyway, it was displayed prominently, all its stuff in there. And then when he had, in order to get out of the trap or whatever, he had to have it set on fire. So everything in it burned up, and that's his memories of his son. So anyway, it was... I put this as number 5, and then of course he sees his wife. She's the surgeon, and all that with Amanda. She shoots the surgeon. She's supposed to let her go because she helped relieve the pressure on Saw's brain.
But why didn't you like it, Safi?
Because I just thought it was terrible how it was like so unnecessary.
Yeah.
That he's punishing the guy because he's grieving too much when he's done the same thing. He's turned into this trap killer.
Yeah, there has been, and that's the other thing, is that he has so many hypocrisies and double standards, his character. Like, also, when he found out that his neighbor murdered her baby in Jigsaw, he put her in a saw trap as revenge. So, why didn't he just let go?
Yeah, so I just thought that was total irony. So, that was my number 5. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Saw 1. I feel like, it's a good movie. It's obviously, everyone's already said everything about it before. I like it, but it's just, it gets old. It really gets old. Like, I don't think that I'll watch Saw 1 again for, years. Because I've watched it twice this year, and it's... You have to watch it with, a fresh perspective, or else it gets really, really old. It gets boring because you already know everything that's going to happen. All the mystery's taken away. And I also think there's a lot of, stupidity in the game. Like, the thing about the key, how the opening scene of the movie, the character, he wakes up in the tub and he unknowingly flushes the key down the drain. And it's like, that was stupid. Like, what was the game there? Like, how could he have known that there would be a key sitting on his face in the tub that he would have to wake up and get it? That was stupid. That was just, I hate that. And there's some other stuff too, but it's still good. It's just, it gets old. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And it's very just been there, done that, you know. Sometimes I feel like I've seen Halloween too many times, but, you know, that movie's a lot better than this. But it a lot of the time I feel like, you know what, the original Saw, I don't care about it anymore. I'm sick of it.
Okay, well, number 4 is my Saw 1. It's Saw 1 for me, too, so it's not too far off from Marco's. And I could just agree with everything he says.
Really?
I actually pushed this down. I had it at 3, but when we saw the latest Saw movie, I moved it a notch down. It does introduce you to the Saw series.
Oh, boo-hoo. Like, and
and that's, you know, without it, you wouldn't have anything else.
So what? Friday the 13th sucked, and you know we're going to put that movie low on the list probably.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm not going to say anything. Marco just told all about it.
Oh.
So,
I wanted to go to the bathroom.
Doctor,
I'm going to go to the bathroom, and you keep talking about... Don't just summarize the movie, but just say what you thought about, like, why it's at number 4 or something, and I'm going to go to the bathroom really quickly. Because we have a repairman coming, and he's going to do stuff in the bathroom. So I'm going to do a cartwheel on the bed and go around Safi like an obstacle course and use the restroom.
Okay, well, I just have it because at number 4, because it's so simple and it's not very elaborate, and it's not that a movie has to be elaborate, but it's the fact that it's just so simple and basic, and it introduces you to the Saw series. And I guess the two biggest things is, well, 3 is that, well, the doctor who appears later in that one movie with the 3D where he actually gets rid of Detective Hoffman because Saw said that if my wife ever gets harmed, you need to, because he escaped, he chopped off his foot, not chopped, he sawed it off with a I think, is that a jigsaw? Hacksaw. It's a hacksaw.
Are you summarizing the movie, Safi?
No, but anyway.
Okay, I'm going to do another cartwheel over the bed. Watch this, Safi. Look, describe what I'm doing. Yeah! Oh,
yeah.
That was cool.
What was that?
It was like a spy agent move. Like I could be James Bond.
So, anyway, it was just so basic, and everything else is more thought out, planned. There's more to the story, more elaborate, and it's taken more time to put it together. But this is the first one. But anyway, I put it at number 4. What's your number 4?
And something about it, too, that I will say is that I really do like the mystery about it, and just like the scary feeling of what if you woke up in this room with someone else and you have to get out of this trap. Like, none of the other movies in the series have that same, like, mystery feel. So that's what I meant in that Spiral was trying to take the series in the right direction, is they really need to bring that back, that feeling. My number 4 is Saw 5. I kind of like this movie. You know, I kind of like it the same amount that I like Saw 1. You know, I really used to watch this movie a lot because I I bought it from Blockbuster, and I just couldn't help but watch it a lot because it's fun. It has a lot of great stuff in it, like the scenes with Hoffman and Jigsaw first meeting, the twist at the end where Agent Stromboli, he gets killed and Hoffman survives because he falls for the trick and he puts Hoffman in the glass coffin. That was awesome. That scene was really, really a good twist. They really improved after the fourth movie. I mean, they made it a lot more simple, and they made it a lot better that way. I really liked the game, too, the game with the 5 people or whatever, where it turned out at the end that they could have survived all along, all of them. And I really liked that because a lot of the other movies in the series, they don't show the simple solutions that the characters could have taken to get out of these traps. Part 5 actually shows you all the solutions, and I really like that about the movie. That they take the time to explain, like, hey, they could have just done all this easy stuff and not gotten killed at all. So, I kind of like it. It's not the best, but it's not the worst, like Safi said. Or claimed.
I have it at number 7.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
Okay, well, my number 3 is the Saw movie we just saw, which is El Juego de Miedo.
Saw X.
Saw X.
Now, Safi, while you talk about Saw X, I'm gonna go brush my teeth really quickly because I needed to do that, and so I want you to film me doing the agent spy move over the bed, just to show how I could actually be the next James Bond.
God. Give me a break.
Right, Safi?
No.
I could be the American James Bond.
No.
Right, Safi?
No.
Why not? So, Saw X. I'm turning on your phone.
Okay, so Saw X, we just went through it, but
it's awesome. Spoiler alert.
It's a really good story.
Here, film me doing the agent spy move as I go to brush my teeth while you talk about Saw X. Press go. Whoa! Oh yeah! Dun dun dun. Saw X. Safi, keep talking.
Okay, sorry. Okay, well, we just talked about this, but I thought it was really good, and who knows how many people this has affected, but this was actually a kind of like a flashback show where this happened in the past, because Jigsaw was killed, and he probably would be dead from cancer by now at this late date. But if you recall, you remember when he went to the insurance agency and he wanted to get covered? This is how he went after these people. The insurance guy and the whole group of people. I mean, it was a massive, all the office staff. I'm talking about the administrative assistant. And because he had heard, remember from in this movie, Saw 10, the pancreatic cancer guy who's in a cancer support group saw him in a coffee shop, and he told Jigsaw about this treatment in Norway. And so he goes after it in this movie. So it was all a scam. But it takes place in Mexico. And because he flies down to Mexico, and so all the cast...
Agent Spy Marco reporting for duty.
So all the cast is Mexican, and and Amanda comes back.
What you just said. Safi, don't summarize the movie. Just say really quickly, because we're almost at an hour.
It was really good. It was simple, but it was good. It was effective, and Marco liked this. He liked it too, because it shows how Jigsaw always has the thumb on everything.
Yeah.
You think he may not know about something.
It was so good.
But he he knows about
it was
these
really
scammers.
It was so good. I really wish I could put it as the best movie of the year, but Gran Turismo was better. So my number 3, we're going to go a little faster now because we're almost at an hour. Whenever we do a video that's an hour now, I always have to like delete stuff to make more space. So my number 3 is Saw X. This was a treat. It really was. Like, it was a surprise because this was the movie that I wanted to see after Saw 2. Where you see that Amanda is going to be working with Jigsaw and she's going to be the new Jigsaw, apparently, after he dies. This is the movie I wanted after Saw 2. It's the movie that we were robbed of getting because they wanted to do that stupid Saw 3 too early and jump the shark. I really loved how Jigsaw, he's in almost the whole movie. Or he's in the whole movie. And that's, that almost makes me want to put it at number 1. On just that alone. I love the people that he goes up against because they're his perfect match. You know, they're more evil than he is. They're really, really bad people. And also, it redeems Amanda's character even more. You know, so it's perfect. I love it. I think it's one of the best horror sequels I've ever seen. And the fact that it's the 10th movie in the series and it's this good is just really impressive. Safi, what's your number 2? Number 3?
My number 2 is...
Is it your number 2?
6. And that's the insurance guy and his office staff. And I just... and the thing is, the people who actually get rid of him or get back at him are the wife and the son of another client who'd been paying his insurance bills once a month for 10 years. And when he went in to get treatment, he was denied. So they got to pull the plug, which was some kind of acid. And it got sprayed on the guy, whatever, and killed him. But he had his administrative assistant, everybody in his office. It was just unbelievable putting all that together and all those victims, because it wasn't all in the merry-go-round and everything.
I will say too, the merry-go-round is my favorite trap of the series.
Yeah, it was like, it kind of reminded me of Breaking Bad. Remember when he had the machine gun and rigged it up?
Well, Safi, remember that Hoffman did that in 3D. He actually rigged up a machine gun to just shoot at the people on its own. So they actually did that later on in the series. Remember?
Yeah, so that's what I thought of, Walter White and the machine gun. So that was my number 2. So
my number 2 is Saw 6. This movie was surprisingly good. You know, every time a new Saw movie comes out, you always get the same old sticks in the mud who say, I don't want more Saw movies. Saw has overstayed its welcome. Saw movies are bad. All Saw movies except the first one are bad, even though the people who made the first one wrote and made the second and third one. You know, that all the Saw movies suck. And, you know, it's like, fuck off. Because part 6... This was amazing. I mean, this story was really good. It was really a perfect story to have like a health insurance company be the subject of Jigsaw's traps. I mean, and I love the flashbacks where Jigsaw talks with the health insurance guy, and you know, he basically roasts him, and he says like, you know, in the Far East, people pay the doctors when they feel good, and they don't pay them when they're sick. And I felt like, you know, that was a great line. He had some great lines in this movie. I really loved the health insurance character because even though he was bad, he really went through a journey in the movie. And I really liked that. It's just sad that at the end they still killed off his character. That was the only flaw of the movie to me. So yeah, this is an extremely good sequel. It's one of those movies where, just like Saw X, you can't believe that it's that good. It's the 6th movie in the series. So I've seen it a million times, and I'll see it a million more times in the future because it's that good.
Okay.
Safi, what's your number one?
My number one is Saw 2, and that's Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And he's trapped, and then his son, who he just had a fight with the night before, he gets trapped with all these other people. And guess who these other people are? They all are victims of Donnie Wahlberg as a detective, making them look guilty, manipulating evidence, and getting all of them were in trouble because all their cases were jeopardized by his deliberate attempt to screw them over. And and so the son, why was the son there? I guess just because he was his son. And anyway,
well, he was there, but then Amanda was there to protect him and to make sure that he got out of it.
Yeah,
because the whole movie was like a false ploy, a false like thing where, you know, the main game took place already before this story happens in this movie, and it's like a trick, and so she's actually put in the game again so she can help the kid survive and get out of the game.
The thing is, though, I mean, they jeopardize the kid because somewhere in an obvious place by a fire extinguisher or something, there was a picture that was put up there, and it showed Donnie Wahlberg and the boy together.
Yeah.
And which would immediately put a target on his back because a couple of the people who were entrapped had been to prison. So,
ooh,
and
that's scary.
They were not happy.
Ooh.
Anyway, and Amanda, he was a good kid. He tried to help people.
Amanda was a good kid.
No, the boy was a good kid.
And the kid's name was Danny. So you can say
Danny and Donnie.
Danny was a good kid.
Danny was a good kid. Amanda actually, she had to, for this one guy, he had to get a key that was in a whole pit full of injectors. And Amanda had been a drug addict using injectors. And he pushed her, she fell into the pit. And she had to find the key, or she found the key, but anyway, she was covered in these injectors, and Danny helped her. I mean, he helped other people in the game too. He helped them walk if they were weak or whatever. He was just a very nice person, and he knew he was in danger because of his relationship with his father, so he kept it quiet until the picture came out. And another one of the bad people went after him. But anyway, it was really good. The traps were interesting, and the story. And Donnie, that is his name, but he's looking for him. You know, he's so upset, and he ends up getting locked up again.
So my number one is Saw 2. I think it's a perfect horror movie. I think it's a perfect movie. It's really, really good. It is such a step up from the first movie. It's really intense. You know, even after having seen it before a long time ago, multiple times, it's like watching it's like being on a roller coaster watching this movie. I really liked Amanda's character a lot. To me, her character in this movie was like one of the top 3 characters of the series. And, yeah, it's perfect. And I also love Jigsaw. He's pretty evil in this movie. Like, just the stuff that he says, like, he's really, really good at being a villain in this movie. You know, and I love the ending where, you know, he got beaten up almost to death, basically. And even at the end, he's just sitting there in the car, beaten up, and he's laughing and hearing the detectives screaming. And I just thought, you know, that was a really good movie. That was really, really perfect. Very, very good.
Well, did the detective ever find out that his son had been saved?
No.
That's what I thought.
And I did like, too, that the son was safe. It wasn't like the third one where they tried to make the daughter get killed. So, and I will say too, I forgot to mention that in the 6th movie, I really liked the ending where Hoffman got out of the reverse bear trap. That was one of the highlights of the whole series. So yeah, number 2 is both of our favorite ones, and so we had the same top 3, and then a couple of other similar ones. So Safi?
Yes?
Should we end it now?
Yes. So,
yeah.
Please, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. And so you can give us some feedback on the Saw series. And it's going to be Halloween at the end of the month, so this might be something good to watch in honor of the holiday.
Really?
These movies. So instead of the traditional Halloween series, which you could watch the first one.
Yeah, watch the first one and the second one, and pretend the other ones don't exist.
And
and then watch the third one. The third one's good too.
If you want to just spend the entire month watching different, scary shows, take a good look at. Go see Saw 10, and go watch some of these other Saw movies that we recommended, or just watch whatever you want and just tell us what you thought you liked. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.